In a dramatic about-turn, former State Protocol Chief Bruce Koloane has conceded that he used former President Jacob Zuma's name to put pressure on officials to clear the landing of the Gupta plane at the Waterkloof Air Force Base in 2013. On Monday, Koloane denied having name-dropped. He changed his tune after listening to audio recordings implicating him. Koloane told the commission that the recordings had refreshed his memory. SABC reporter Manqoba Mchunu was there. Manqoba, so as we mentioned, a big story of the day is that he has changed his tune. What brought that about?
Well, of course, SABC recall that yesterday Koloane had asked for some of those audio recordings to be handed to him, saying that, he was being prejudiced by not having them in his possession to listen to what they'd been saying. And of course, yesterday he denied the fact that he had used the name of the former Minister of Transport, Ben Martins, as well as the Minister of Defense, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqagula, as well as the President himself, in order to put pressure on those officials at the Waterkloof to actually process the clearance of the Gupta plane to land there. But of course, today changing his tune after listening to those damning recordings that the State Capture Commission also listened to today. But just to put this in context, Tepi, so let's hear what he had said yesterday when he gave his testimony disputing his knowledge of this.
He added that the Minister of Transport, Mr. Ben Martins, had been given instructions by the President to assist the Gupta family, that the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans has no objection.
I deny categorically that statement. It sounds very much like the media statement I read after they discovered of the meeting that Minister of Ben Martins had in OR Tambo.
Okay, so Manqoba saying that his memory had been refreshed when these audio recordings were presented to him. What exactly did he find to refresh his mind enough to admit that he actually did name drop, including using former President Jacob Zuma's name?
Well, of course, Sipi, so those recordings are damning. In fact, when you listen to them, it's him speaking, and he introduces himself to the warrant officer, this time around, who was at the command post at the time, saying that it's him that's speaking, and he goes on to then speak to Nsisi, even using the names of the former Minister of Transport, Ben Martins, as having, knowing about this clearance that was supposed to be given, and also the Defense Minister also not objecting to it, and also, he can be heard also in one of the recordings where he speaks about being under pressure from number one. So those were damning recordings against him, and of course he
so
was
what is he saying, Manqoba, that the President was never in any way involved, that it is he that used his name and abused it for the circumstances?
And that's always been his position. He reiterated that today, saying that of course till this day he can categorically say that the presidency, the President himself, have never tried to influence or ever instruct the landing of that plane. He says that he's the one who actually erred by using the President's name. He says that he takes full responsibility for that, the fact that he's the one that used these names and name dropped to this effect to try and secure that landing. Of course, he says that, he also told lies to some of the officials. He admitted that he told lies to these officials at Waterkloof by saying that the President and the ministers had been involved. So let's take a listen to what he had to say about this episode.
So can we accept then from the responses that you've given the chair that at the time when you used the name of the Minister of Transport, the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans and the President, you knew that was a lie because none of them had told you anything about this?
Correct.
So, and as senior as you were, you conveyed that lie to these employees in order to put pressure on them, as you've already mentioned.
Something I'm not proud of, but yes, it's true. I did put pressure on them to process that.
Yes, and then from what you have told the chair already, what is recorded, which is what you listened to yesterday, is the correct recording of these conversations?
Yes, it is an accurate recording.
So finally, Manqoba, we saw Justice Zondo at some point asking him if he is aware or cognizant of the gravity of the situation that's bringing about his saying that he would like to apologize. Why has he not done that?
Of course, Tsepiso, you'll know that he's been deployed as well as an ambassador, but to this point, he says that, he's been so ashamed about this incident. This incident has really affected his life and his family, saying that he even goes to therapy for the events that had happened there. But he says that, now that he realizes the seriousness as well of this incident and that he had to replay it again, he then, will try and go to those officials, especially the president himself, to apologize for his utterances and for using their names in that way. But let's take a listen to what he said to the chair on this.
In hindsight, maybe I should have at least written a letter or letters to the president and express my apology, because I was just too scared or ashamed to go and approach and see him in person. And again, it's something that I may consider doing now that the chair has actually raised that with me. Belated as it is, I will still at least endeavor to write the letters to the three. That is the president and the two ministers, to express my unwavering apology for what I put them through.
Yeah, of course, so those were his utterances to the chair. We do know that, of course, he will be going back to the post. But, I mean, of course, many questions that people are asking themselves is what's going to happen now? I mean, with him making such an admittance. We do know that he was already found guilty by that investigation, the government investigation in 2013. But people saying that, of course, he has admitted that, he is wronged. And as a government representative overseas, what happens now? That's the big question.
Thank you very much, Manqoba Mchunu, SABC reporter, on that story.